Welcome back to the Thom Hartmann Program. I'm Alex Lawson, filling in for Tom, and I'm really pleased to keep going with bringing some of my favorite people onto the show. And we're joined by Skype right now by Jon Bauman. He's the Senior Advisor of Social Security Works. And my good friend, Jon, how are you?
I'm good, Alex, but don't book me in one of those hotels again.
Oh, man. I was just saying that I had to call ahead and make sure that they did not have MSNBC at the next hotel.
Don't give away the secrets, for God's sakes.
To keep it going, that I always make sure that you don't have access to your MSNBC. I want you to get all your news from the Thom Hartmann Program, Jon. That's what it is.
You know that I do, but we have to determine what kind of news other people are getting.
That's true.
Until we can retrain them all to just listen to Thom Hartmann all day over and over and over again. That's the nature of the problem. And by the way, I do believe that is the nature of the problem.
It is. The corporate media is the nature of the problem. We talked a lot about that through this show. We've also talked, I had Nancy Altman on in the first hour, and, we talked about the expansive vision of Social Security that includes economic security for a lifetime, and why we fight for expanding Medicare for everyone, why we fight against Trump Care and its raiding Medicare and destroying Medicaid, which is what you and I have been going around the country doing these events, the Hands Off Medicare and Medicaid tour, raising our voices, gathering groups of people to raise their voices together, hammering these Senate offices with phone calls to find 3 senators who'll vote no on any reconciliation bill that includes Medicare or Medicaid. And we had a victory of sorts, a short victory with Trump Care being defeated before you or I thought it was going to be. We thought it was going to make it through the House. They had 7 years to plan that. But I mean, we're reading the same news today, so you see they're pushing it. We knew they would, but I didn't think they'd try so quickly to get it back into the docket, so a vote possibly on Friday. Are you hearing anything more about that?
Not anything more than you've heard, probably. I woke up this morning to the Washington Post article, with help from Pence. Let's see, to be exact, House Republicans suddenly rekindle healthcare talks. Wow, terrific. But, the only thing that I've heard about it is that it still seems unlikely that anything's going to be good enough by Friday to get it onto the floor. So that will help. I don't know, you and I need to discuss this at some point. Should we rekindle the events we were going to do before the House bill failed? We've got to strategize and talk about what we're really going to do. Once again, if this continues, we will need these 3 Republican senators. I mean, look, none of this makes any sense. There's some kind of effort to appease the Freedom Caucus, which is going to push the health care bill, which was so massively popular before that 17% of Americans supported it. So there's going to be some massive effort to push this health care bill off the right edge of the flat earth in order to satisfy the Freedom Caucus. So it's going to fall like over here off the right edge of the flat earth. Now over here, you've got the Tuesday group, right? Charlie Dent and those guys who, the further the bill falls off the right edge of the flat earth, these guys over here are going to have more and more trouble with it. So how this all adds up into anything is anybody's guess. But as you said so eloquently, we took on the task, you and I and Social Security Works took on the task of finding 3 Republican senators who will stop this madness if it ever does get to the Senate, and vote against any reconciliation bill that cuts either Medicare or Medicaid. And we think we were pretty well on the way to doing that by finding activists all over the country, in the districts, in the states, that likely senators to be on our side, likely Republican senators, to keep pounding on those senators' phones and going to their offices. And as you know, you and I did with them, and I sang to staffers.
He did. He sang our demands. Susan Collins up in Maine. We were in Maine. We went to Nevada. Dean Heller. We were also in Arizona. We didn't. I mean, Collins and Heller both actually at least said they were going to vote no. And I think, we're strategizing live in front of the American people, and we should invite them to call in, and you can let us know what you think. What Nancy and I were talking about is that the key here is to, and we know this, but they're not going to stop. They're always going to push, and this is going to now be one of those fights. It's just an eternal fight, and they're going to be fighting to raid Medicare, destroy Medicaid, throw millions of people off of their health insurance, and all to give huge tax cuts.
I seem to have lost you, Alex. I don't know if you can hear me.
I can hear you. I don't know.
Here you
are. To give huge tax breaks to billionaires, to the pharmaceutical industry, and obviously to their corporate overlords on Wall Street, the billionaires. And so what we need to do is just continue our campaign. It is going to find these 3 Republican senators, but we also just want to tell the American people what's going on, and we have to fight for what the American people want, which is to expand Medicare to cover everybody. That's the only path forward on this. So I think what we learned in the fight on Social Security when we had the billionaires from Wall Street arrayed against Social Security is that you have to fight on offense for what you want. So that is, Nancy and I were talking about it, how the fight to expand Medicare to everybody is the next stage in our fight. So, John, you and I have to continue to go around with these 3, finding these 3 senators as our target, but also just to raise the voices of the American people fighting for expanding Medicare to everybody. What I was saying is what we do is we fight for, now that we pivot because Trump care, there was a defeat, but now it's coming back. And I think this is now going to be an ongoing thing, just like the attacks on Social Security are an ongoing thing.
For sure.
And so what we do is we fight for what we know is the path forward to expand Medicare to everybody. We still are looking for these 3 Republicans to pledge to vote no on any reconciliation bill that includes Medicare and Medicaid. But we also include just raising the voices of the American people who have, I mean, you said it, 17% is the approval rating of Trump care. 17%.
It's a pretty strange number, don't you think, for something that was supposedly a serious proposal?
And now they're pulling out all the stops to try to get it back in front of the Congress to have a vote to pass it off to the Senate. What we do know is that Trump care is super unpopular, but expanding Medicare to everybody is incredibly popular. And that's what we have to do to help people raise their voices to fight for what we want.
And I do have to say, that as sort of as discouraging as it is in one way that this thing has reared its ugly head again, a vote would be terrific. The one thing we were missing from that from this first episode of Trump Care was a vote, because I think would all like to know who of the 435 House members would actually vote for this thing that 17% of America thinks is a good idea. And I'm sure this next foray, which will be created just to please the Freedom Caucus, most likely, we'd like to know who will vote for that one as well. So, just like you said, Alex, we're getting our message out there. We're going to continue to get our message out there. You and I, where we go and when we go is really a matter of how we perceive the timing to be. We were on our way to West Virginia and Ohio, and because the bill came, apparently the bill failed, we have postponed our trip to West Virginia and Ohio, but we can reconstruct that trip at a moment's notice.
And where we are going April 28th is we'll be in Kokomo, Indiana.
And that's what I was going to get to next. We are going to continue our foray to Kokomo, Indiana, which was a previously arranged, not by us appearance. So we'll be there on April 28th.
We're working with the UAW there, again, to raise people's voices and demand what people want, which is expanding Medicare, expanding Social Security, lowering drug prices, and fighting the greedy liars on Wall Street and their bankrupt ideology of, let a billionaire into every decision, and that's going to make things better. John, I want to just spend a second, you have called in before, but I'll tell the listeners, John and I, in going around the country, it is very fun because John toured extensively with his band Sha Na Na. And so John really knows exactly how to do this, and I don't really. One of the main
in these strange hotels, Alex.
Yeah, I know, which is quite fun for me to make sure they don't have MSNBC. But one of the main disagreements, besides the hotels, where I'm very happy in these hotels with no corporate media.
We have no other disagreements.
Well, there's one.
What?
It's the Atlas, John.
Oh no, you appreciated the Atlas.
I do. I did not fully appreciate the Atlas until John showed me that when you're doing these things and going around the country, looking at an Atlas and really planning out, how are we going to get all around the country and to as many places as possible. It's actually it's fun as well, and you can really chart out a great path to a variety of places, and not just destinations, not just from here to there, but chart out this tour. And that is what we need to sit down again and do. So when we're in Kokomo, bring your Atlas, and we'll plan out the rest of the Hands Off Medicare and Medicaid tour. In the last minute here, John, what do you think the next steps for the Republicans are? How much do you think of this as messaging from the White House, from Paul Ryan, and where do you think they actually will get this vote?
I think it's just nonsense. I think that they know that they need a quote win unquote because we're going to be so sick of winning that our heads will spin. But I don't understand how they get this win. They're going to have to push this bill off the right edge of their flat Earth, of the Freedom Caucus's flat Earth, in order to please the Freedom Caucus. Consequently, the Tuesday group in the House is going to have conniptions. I don't understand how they bring those two forces together. And if miraculously they do, then it goes back to our original thought, which is, the Senate being a somewhat more sober body. I don't think we're going to have any trouble finding 3 Republican senators who will vote against the bill that they're going to come up with. So I think this is just a futile exercise. But as usual, you and I will be ready,
and John,
with activists all over America to fight it and resist if it should come to the floor.
And John, I think we also make sure it doesn't by going to resistancerecess.com. And when they're home, this recess
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 202-808-9925.
When the members are home for this recess, that's when we can raise our voices. Go to resistancerecess.com, find out where your members are, and join them there.